Hi, I'm Matt Finney.
And I'm Thomas Hunt.
And this is the Bad News Network. Nick is off spelunking in the cliffs of Mount Minotagua. So now it's up to us to lend you the news. The Democratic debates. The whole thing is very simple. A whole bunch of power grubbers are going to make a speech that they think you want to hear. Later, when you vote for one of them out of habit, they're going to make another speech that they think you want to hear. And we'll tear that one up when we get there. A hot mic moment caught Warren accusing Bernie of calling her a liar on national TV, which is ironic coming from politicians. But I don't think that's entirely accurate. I didn't hear Bernie talking about her heritage, her college applications, or her work severance papers.
Days after Iran had launched missiles at U.S. bases, news came about that an airliner crashed in Iran. Now call them skeptical, but the good people of the entire world had their doubts. Iran then told everyone that the plane caught fire and tried to turn around when it crashed. Okay, cool, but we're just gonna do the investigation thing just to be sure. Not saying your word is worthless, but... Sure enough, as investigations of the wreckage continued, it was clear that it was a missile attack. At this point, Iran was like, okay, maybe we fired a missile at an airliner. But it was totally America's fault because we just started launching missiles at their bases. As more evidence came to light, it hasn't been looking good for Iran's story. The airliner was not approaching suspiciously. For that matter, it wasn't approaching at all. It was taking off. From a nearby airport in Tehran, it was the 11th takeoff of that day, in the exact same pattern. Iran launched 2 missiles at the airliner, the second one when it was trying to turn back to the airport. In all, 176 people were killed, 82 of which were Iranian citizens. They're still trying to blame the US for this, and we're not even joking.
Virginia Governor Ralph Northam has declared a state of emergency and has banned all firearms from the Capitol. This comes in response to a 2A protest that was planned months ago, where they're basically planning to march around the Capitol. Northam stated that the call for emergency was prompted by law enforcement finding examples of violent rhetoric on the internet chatter. Protest organizers, however, have just said that Northam is trying to infringe on their First Amendment rights as well as their Second. Meanwhile, West Virginia has offered to take in all 2A sanctuaries in Virginia if they want to secede. There aren't really any precedents set for this kind of action, but it has raised conversation about bypassing unconstitutional laws in the future. To be honest, this is probably a better option than storming the Capitol and beating down Northam like some kind of Roman senator while he screeches, A2-2A?
On Wednesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin proposed constitutional changes that would extend his grip of power once he left the presidency. He also picked a new prime minister after his current prime minister, Dmitry Medvedev, stepped down along with his entire cabinet to make sure that it would go through. Putin's term as president will be up in 2024. A lot of people are saying that this move is him transferring power to the prime minister so that when he leaves the presidency, he can be elected prime minister and still have his power. That way he can continue to rule the world's largest nation and one of the 2 biggest nuclear powers. However, for this power grab to work, Putin would need to be elected to the prime ministership after his term as president. Most likely, he will still prevail, despite his stiff competition. This whole power grab might seem a little shady what Putin's putting across, but it's better than his last suggestion of making himself Grand Master Admiral General Emperor of Russia.
A Kansas man named David Ostrom is asking an Iowa judge to allow him to fight his ex-wife in trial by combat. David stated that his ex-wife Bridget and her Iowa lawyer have ruined his life financially with property tax issues and custody battles. He asked that the Iowa district courts give him 12 weeks to find Japanese samurai swords for his requested battle. David argued in court that trial by combat has never explicitly been banned or restricted by the United States. The judge, for his part, argued that it seemed a little excessive to take it to a life and death situation over these matters. He promptly suspended David's visitation and recommended that he get a psychological review. At this point, ritual suicide by disembowelment to preserve his honor might be David's only recourse in this matter. President Trump signed a trade agreement deal with China on Wednesday. The trade agreement reportedly paves the way for improvement for U.S. farmers, energy companies, and financial firms. In an 86-page document, China has agreed to increase its purchases of U.S. goods by $200 billion across the next 2 years. It also 86s Beijing's tactics in forcing U.S. companies to disclose their technologies and limits their ability to devalue their currency, a tactic that China has used to counter U.S. tariffs. No tariffs have been lifted thus far, as Trump says he wants to maintain leverage. The agreement will go into effect in 30 days. While the outcome of the trade agreement is still being examined by pundits, and there's a whole nother phase too, Trump maintains that it is a terrific deal. Trust me. And finally, in Florida news, Florida woman Emily Stallard from Tampa was arrested for making a homemade bomb in Walmart. Emily was reportedly roaming the aisles of Walmart, opening unpaid items and constructing her bomb with her little child in tow. After about an hour or so, a security guard deemed her suspicious and decided to investigate. She apparently had been constructing a bomb out of denatured alcohol, nails in a mason jar, and a candle. When authorities were called in and went to arrest the woman, she resisted furiously, as any Florida woman would. She was then tackled by police officers. She was thus charged with arson, firebombing, child abuse, and assaulting an officer. We look forward to the outpour of demands to ban mason jars, nails, and candles from people who just want a safer society. And with that, I'm Matt Finney.
And I'm Thomas Hunt.
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and if you're in the DC area this weekend, come by the Vetties and see if I can get Nick blackout drunk before his keynote speech.